I'm excited for what I believe will be one of many shows, man. You know, I feel comfortable with you, and we could have already talked for an hour over there. So let's make this meaningful for the people, and you know, I'm an open book, and let's get us out there.
Word. Nelson, nice. They call me nice. You know, welcome to Fend Studios. This is, I like to call this the Mamba Room. You know, a lot of inspiration by Kobe with the purple, the yellow, just like who I grew up watching.
Yeah.
Even though I'm out in Boston, everything's Boston except basketball. I just don't like the Celtics. I'm a big Kobe fan. But yeah, so I like to call this the Mamba Room at Fend Studios, and we're here for Ways to Get the Check. First episode of 2025, man.
Let's go.
Thank you for coming, Royce. Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you for having me. Thank you for having me.
We're excited for today. And what's to come. Let's let the people know who you are and what brings you here today.
Well, always an honor and a privilege just to be in the presence of people who are out there making it happen, making an impact, and just getting ready to shoot this with you. This is what we're about, right? This is who I am. Lately, I will say Kobe's been finding his way more into my motivation, and I see that up there in the Mamba mentality, playing a lot of his old clips and seeing what it takes just to be better, right?
Yep.
And it's something I always tell my kids, if you do what everybody else does, you end up like everybody else, right? And Kobe was able to do more, regardless of how he felt, regardless of what's going on, no excuses, and because of that, he excelled. And in my personal life, I believe in excellence, right? There's not a thing I set my mind to growing up that I didn't put my all into, and that is ministry, finances, law enforcement, education, impact speeches, platforms, counseling, guidance, right? These are all areas in which I impact people's lives, and I'm going to continue to do that regardless of what's going on.
Word. I hear you on that. With it being the new year, and before we get into everything and stuff like that, you know, last year for me in 2024, it was a roller coaster ride. You know, there was a lot of downs, ups. It was all over the place. Coming to the closure, I was almost, you know, when the roller coaster's almost over right there.
Yep.
It's coming back, so you're just like getting everything together.
Yeah.
So I was all over the place. So I didn't really get into my New Year's resolution. I forgot to put myself first and talk about what I want to accomplish this year and moving forward. So I want to just go back and take that moment with my guests and stuff like that since it's the beginning of the year, first episode of 2025. Talk about some New Year's resolution, how you set them, what you got in mind, things like that.
Well, I think me being here as the first guest of the year was definitely divine. You know, as you can see the shirt, I'm all about reflecting, right? The platform that God's put on my heart and that I'm building is Reflections with Royce Raymond. All I do is reflect is what I've been doing. I'm just putting a name to it now. But everybody who I bring into my life, everybody who I enter into their lives, I get them to a state of reflection where they could really do exactly what you're doing, but on a more regular basis. In fact, I preached a message last year that had to do with resolutions. And in fact, I decided to name it Routines Over Resolutions.
It's okay.
And the reason for that is
like
because resolutions, it's a January, February if you're lucky. Very rarely is it a January through December. But if I can help the people who are in my life set some real routines, lock them in progressively. That's another thing about my style. I got to let you know. I'm not a huge fan of cold turkey. I do it sometimes, but most people, they bounce back. So I'm more of a progressive style, right? I believe that the journey of a million miles starts with one step, right? How you eat an elephant is a bite at a time. Don't get yourself overwhelmed, but target one specific thing and you just drill and you drill and you drill. So if I'm looking last year, I'm breaking it down to the day, right? I'm breaking it down to the day. What can I do in a day that will impact the rest of the year? And I'm excited, actually. I just got some paperwork back from the next speech I'll be doing, first of the year, February 21st. It's titled Mastering Your Mornings. And I'm actually going to be doing a lot of the stuff that I do privately. I'm going to be sharing it with those who attend. It's going to be powerful.
I like that, mastering your mornings.
Mastering your mornings.
I like that. I'm a morning person. I love being up early and getting things done. It's a
It's-
little harder now with my newborn,
Yeah,
but
congratulations, by the way.
thank you. But
Congratulations.
we're doing it. We gotta do what we gotta do. Can you talk about a little bit about that? mastering your morning?
I mean, I'm going to be sharing on that night all the strategies that I've been working on in the past year to really take a look at how we can maximize our mornings to make the most of our day. And what I've come to see, and I'm a family man too, which is why I can congratulate you for this. You know, I've got three, and those three, they're all different stages, right? 17-year-old, 10-year-old, and
Wow.
an 8-year-old, and the middle one's my princess, right? So got a girl, 2 boys, teenager, and all those dynamics still are in the play of my day-to-day life and responsibilities. So how do you get things done? But not just get things done with excellence, right?
Yep.
You've got to be organized, right? And the mastery of that comes with catering it to you, which is why anytime I work with somebody, if you don't devote time to organizing yourself with an actual calendar, you're chasing the clock. You're chasing the clock, you're gonna get frustrated, right? So the last speech that I did was in August, Don't Give Up. We sold out in our first room, had to come to a bigger place, and I plan on selling out this place in February. We talked, we hashed some things out. The people didn't want to leave. It was really interactive. But the whole point of that particular workshop was, and speech was, why do we feel like giving up around the fall time, closer to the year? It's because that reflecting moment you're having, a lot of people didn't do what they need to do in January. So they see that coming. So I decided to put a talk during then to tell them it's not over yet. Don't give up, finish the year strong. And the feedback I got from that set me, I'm like, hey, I gotta tell them what to do in February so that what happened in the fall last year doesn't happen again.
Word. I like that. I understand that. Those events that you do, I just want to let you know we do offer live streaming. You know, like, have you ever thought about streaming those to get it out to other people, or do you guys stream, or is it private?
It's been private so far, but that's something. I've got another project that's going to be huge, and I definitely might need your help for that. I'm actually going to be pushing the Gideon Project. As you know, I'm a man of faith, and the Gideon Project is essentially 300, right? 300 men facing insurmountable odds. And right now, the men in our society, they're struggling in a lot of different ways. And the Gideon Project is something I talked about in seminary, a major project that would sort of recalibrate your man today. And whether it's fatherhood, whether it's getting ready for marriage, whether it's your single life, becoming the leader of your home and getting those 300 men under one roof and empowering them to go back to their homes. That's something that's got to be public.
Wow.
It's got to be powerful.
Yep.
And having you, when you're set up there, I'm telling you, like, the people have already come to me saying, just tell me when, just tell me where. And the place that I hold my normal talks, they seat 100 people. So I was calling my mentor up and I was telling him, I don't even have a place that can hold 300 people right now. And he was telling me, you've got the people, you'll get the place, just stay true to the call. So I did a few test runs, just calling a few guys up saying, hey, if I did this thing, would you come? And they all told me not only would I come, but we'd bring people too. So I'm expecting at least 300 men there, and that needs to send a message to the nation.
Yeah.
Right? And your ability and your skills is part of the reason why we got to have this thing happen, right? Because the criteria for this particular talk is you need a mentor or you're going to be a mentor. That's the 300's assignment. So it's different than the other speeches because the other speeches that people sign up for, they're like self-improvement, right? Everybody who's coming in February, they're going to leave with a personal improvement plan. What's happening this June is an empowerment mission, right? I'm going to charge them up to go back home and to make a difference in their families first, and we need that more than ever.
All right. No, yeah, I like it. I mean, just let me know whenever.
Oh, yeah.
The only reason why I don't mention it over here to get business or anything like that. I just mention it because live streaming is something on the come up.
Yep.
I'm actually part of this Facebook group. There's like 30,000 people doing this, and
Yep.
I didn't know it was that big, you know? So
Yeah,
I'm
no,
like, wow,
definitely.
this is definitely coming up, and it's just a way to have everybody involved without being there. So.
No, yeah. I mean, this is something, the private moments are private. I don't mind those. But this is something we need to send a message. So the most people who know that we're doing this, the better. So that other people can start doing what I'm doing. Like, it needs to be duplicatable, right? It's not just about Massachusetts,
That 300
right?
is going to be 600 once it's out
There you go. You see,
Correct, yeah.
so for that to happen, they've got to see, okay, these 300 guys said no to their whole day to come together to do what? To impact their families, their communities, their futures. Yeah, we got to do this. And that's how the help comes in too. I can't do it by myself. But I'm telling you right now, those 300 plus people, they're going to come. And those men, they're going to be part of something big.
Yeah, I'll definitely attend, whether it's live stream or not, but
Yeah.
you could call me in to be one of those 300,
Nah, definitely.
301.
Nah, I appreciate that.
And I'll probably bring a few other people, so we'll
No,
be
I
there for sure.
appreciate that.
For sure,
No,
for sure,
I
for sure.
mean, I mean, your work as a coach too. These are the kind of people that I want to be there because this vision is huge, right? And like I said, we need men. right? Men to be present right now more than ever. So I'm just answering the call.
Agreed. And back to the organizing stuff.
Yep.
Before I mention the live stream,
Yep.
I do have my calendar. I started with my calendar maybe 2 years ago,
Yep.
and now it's now I learned how to master it.
That's it.
And I'm working on it good, and it's going well. I appreciate you coming in on time. I'm huge with that. So you got here a little bit early, so that's perfect. Because everything's a schedule, and you need to know exactly what you're gonna be doing in order to.
It's respect too. Right.
Yep, for sure.
I know earlier we were talking about cultures, right? And you travel, you go around. For those of you who have, I've been fortunate to go a lot of places as far as Russia, right? Time's different in different places, but respect is respect, right? And if someone gives you a time, part of maturity is being there, right? Not taking for granted or taking advantage. And some people can see it as a casual thing. And if we're just hanging out, we're hanging out. But you set aside your time. You gave me a time. Unless there's an issue or an accident or something, you got to be on time, right? You respect that. And that's part of mastering your mornings too. Respecting you. You got to respect yourself.
Correct.
Right? So, yeah, that's why I came early. And you were already here.
I'm huge with time, man. I was a bus driver and a coach. I'm the coach. Like at 6:05, we're doing this. 6:10, we're doing this. So you're always time orientated. And with the bus, same thing. At 7:05, you need to be at the next stop. At 7:13, you need to know when to catch the red light. If 9, if you're off 1 minute, your whole schedule's messed up the whole morning.
Everything.
The kids are late. The schools are calling. Parents are mad.
Yeah, I know that.
So I'm gonna go quick to you. I think it was your link tree. It says motivation and inspiration is a mindset and a journey. Join me as I travel life. Can you elaborate on that and talk about that a little bit?
Well, I got to say this. A lot of the things that you're going to see, on there and, anytime you look me up, it really is, it's a coming together of people, right? A lot of the work that I do, whether it's counseling, whether it's preaching, I'm not always available, right? So you need a team. And one of the things that was suggested to me was this link tree, which I didn't know of before. But having everything in one place I thought was great. So I said, all right, let's go with it. But a lot of these social media stuff, you've got to limit what you got to say to, 180 characters, something like that. So I'm like trying to fit in a bunch of things. And I'm like, hey, this is the journey called life. I work on people's mentalities more than anything. So, hey, let's work on your motivation and inspiration. And join me because I'm already doing it, right? So you've got an active coach, an active participant. And, everyone who's in my circle is impacted some way.
Okay. You mentioned you've been to Russia and travel life with you and that little stuff you wrote.
Yeah.
Can you mention some places you've been and things you can't?
Yeah, I mean,
what's your stuff that stuck with you after leaving and things like that?
Well, I mean, missions trips are huge. Anytime you get an opportunity to do missions, you don't have to travel as far as I did, right? You can do missions in your own neighborhood. It's really about sacrifice, setting aside time to help somebody. Even the elderly, winter is coming up on our side on the East Coast. If you want to be the one who's going to shovel out some elderly passenger pathways or stairways, you can do that. But it's a service mentality, right? I really believe in servant leadership. And that's something that's becoming more and more of a buzzword, leaders that actually serve. And early to the call, and I found out this as well, that scripturally speaking, you can't be a disciple unless you have compassion, right? Compassion is the first sign of discipleship. So you got to care about other people. Now, do you care enough to travel? Do you care enough to show up? Do you care enough to give? There's all different levels to that. But to me, early on, I had no idea I was going to become who I am now. I was looking for an opportunity and an adventure. That led me to Tanzania, right? South Africa. And I saw so many things, so many stories, right? We could fill that up for days, the experiences I made out there. But I'm seeing it right now as I'm talking to you. And it was powerful. But one thing I know for sure, that my experience out there, it teaches you to be grateful, and gratitude is so powerful because you don't look at these people, at least I don't, and feel bad. You look at them and you're amazed that they can appreciate what they have, and you have more and you don't, it convicts you, right? And it changes the way that you think. And that was the beginning of my mind changing. To really being satisfied with less and living a life of simplicity, and it helps having a down-to-earth wife too, right? So she helps me with that. But all of those experiences, they impact you. There's no way that you see someone in certain situations that doesn't change you if you have compassion. And what I saw out there were people who were willing to carry barrels of mud and sludge and bricks and sticks to make a solid stone church, right, by hand. That's how much their faith meant to them. And I got to be part of that, right?
Wow.
It was powerful.
That's definitely powerful. It's kind of funny right now, like, this kind of answers the next thing you were talking about,
Yep.
that you were just talking about. My next question, it was like, why give back and motivate others? Like, when it comes to motivation, like, why is that important to you?
Yeah.
So it kind of
Yeah, I
bounced off what you were
mean,
just talking
it's a cycle. I mean, I don't motivate because it's easy, because you can't give what you don't have, right? I've got to be so charged up to do what I do that it requires an exchange, and that exchange is experience. Without those experiences, the good, the bad, and the tough growing up, there's no way I'm sitting to you talking to you the way I am right now.
Correct,
There's no
correct.
way, right? So in some way, they gave to me, even more than I gave to them. So that's how I give back.
Yeah, no, I hear you with that. It's like when I'm coaching, that's actually how I started. I was bringing one of the kids my mom took care of, always in trouble. He reminded me of me a lot.
Yeah.
And he was in 6th grade too, and that's when my behavior picked up, around 5th and 6th grade. So I brought him out to play football. They needed coaches, and I started coaching. Then I'm out there coaching, and I see, that's nuts. I just keep seeing me and all these little kids and stuff, you know? So it was like always giving back. And if I didn't go through what I went through and stuff like that, I wouldn't have the passion to be the coach that I was.
Exactly.
And it's like we laugh about it, started from the bottom, because now I'm like running the in-house room when I was always in in-house and things like that. But if I didn't go through that stuff, I don't think I'll be as good as I am at my job and be able to do what I do. So I see where that motivate. I get exactly what you were saying.
It's the difference between the person and the position. Anybody could be in that position, but they're not the same person.
Correct,
right?
correct.
And that's what you bring. And even while you're speaking, I can feel that. And I had a high school football coach who, he impacted my life so much, so I know you're impacting their lives, whether they recognize it or not. Now, he passed away, but even before he passed, he knew that, because I'd call him up, even at his house, and I'd say, hey, just want to let you know, Coach, this is what I got going on. And he's just like, I knew you wouldn't let me down, right? But that type of relationship, I just want you to know, you're planting powerful seeds, man. And you really, you're rare, right? It feels like everyone's doing it, but you'd be surprised how many kids go unseen, how many kids go uncoached, unmotivated, uninspired. So what you're doing means a lot, man.
Thank you. Nah, for sure. And definitely with the rare stuff, I kind of like, it took bumps and bruises to realize that.
Yep.
And to really appreciate yourself and be like, wow, that do mean a lot. I do all this and stuff, especially getting older. My kids are older now. My students, my old players, starting their families, their businesses, their careers, and reaching out, random messages. Like, wow, this is awesome. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, there was a point that I was going to leave the education and start doing other stuff. But all those messages, all that, they just came at the right time. I was like, nah, I'm not going to stop. There's still a whole different generation now, you know? So it just keeps going and stuff like that. So let's, with that being said, let's backtrack a little bit. How I got into it with football and stuff, coaching, by coaching the kid my mom used to take care of. Shout out to Angel. When did this all begin for you? When do you think?
I got to say, I'd say middle school for me too. Definitely a challenging time. I was also misbehaving, getting kicked out of schools, you know, and making poor decisions. And we could say a lot of reasons why, looking back now that I know what I know, you know, and I love my dad for who he is and the life that he gave me. But we need our fathers present in our lives, right? And even though he was always a phone call away, we need face-to-face, right? We need hands-on. And I think in some way that contributed to some of my acting out. Even though I didn't think that's what I was doing at the time, because I didn't have to do anything to get his attention. I already knew that he loved me. I already knew what he was doing. He was working. But even in cases where you've got someone who loves you and who is working, your absence is felt. And you pick up bad habits. And there's only so much reeling in a mother should/could do. So anybody who made me feel any way that I didn't like, it got physical, right? And I amount to that, or when I'm working with people, you know, like a dragon that needs to be caged and kept up as much as possible, because you'll do things that you'll regret. You'll find yourself in a situation that'll be costly. Now we fast forward to the future, and I'm working in a jail, and I'm seeing all those choices actually pass. I actually see guys who I was in class with there, who heard the same thing I heard. The chase say the same thing. You guys are going to end up in jail, or you guys are going to end up in the gang, or you guys are going to end up dead. And to see me on the opposite side in a uniform, I mean, emotional, right? Emotional moments, but different choices, right? And I credit that to mentors. One in particular, Mark Zizis. This guy, he's been instrumental, and I still talk to him now, right? He's in Vermont now, but he refused to give up. He wouldn't pass me away. He wouldn't send me out of his class. He refused to write me up. He made me do the writing with him. And writing became a powerful outlet before football. 'Cause I didn't play football until I was a freshman. No Pop Warner for me. But I still dominated, right?
Yeah.
4-year starter.
Nice.
2-time MVP, all-league running back, right? But it was really about accountability. And it being done in such a way that you can't ignore that if you discipline someone with love, they're going to receive it much more than when you do it out of anger.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's facts. So when it comes to all this and people get held back and stuff for different fears and things like that, how do you fight fear and stuff like that? And maybe some of your biggest fear that you first had leading up to your journey and stuff like that you got to overcome, or maybe you still haven't? Just talking about fear.
Yeah, fear is definitely a factor. I mean, I got to say there's really 3 things, and I talk to my kids about them all the time because it comes up in counseling sessions. There are definitely habits that I had growing up that weren't good. Majority of them I'd say weren't good. But the 3 that were good, one was my compassion. Even when I was acting out, my compassion levels were through the roof. And my mom would always say, right, your heart is going to get you. You can't care about everybody the way you do, right? And there were things that I do, and I try to explain to her why I'm doing it. It's because this and because of that. And I give her all these reasons, and she'd just tell me, nobody cares the way you do. She'd always say that. So I know compassion was something that was huge for me growing up. The next thing is jealousy. This mindset, very dangerous, very sneaky, and it plays a lot of mental games in people's minds. And it could be a real weakness if you let it tear you apart. That's also something I never developed as a kid. Even though we never had a lot and I wasn't wearing the newest stuff and I didn't have all the gadgets and the gear, thoughts that I heard other people saying never came into my mind. And I was shielded from that. So I thank God for that. And the last is this fear, right? This anxiety piece. Another word that kind of gets tossed around in our society a lot. That's also something that really never made its way into my mind in a crippling sense. If it's fear, it's a nervousness that turns into excitement. It never goes left, right? I'd say in the center, the nervousness can either go left to fear or right to excitement. For me, even if it's about to touch fear, it just goes right. So I can't even say what I necessarily fear in terms of goal setting, because everything that I set my mind to, I'm so focused on that my preparation, my effort, it makes me feel a sense of accomplishment even before I accomplish it. And that's a mindset I try to put into people that I help, right? Because if you can do that, you'll dominate.
No, yeah, I hear exactly what you're saying. But it also comes back to, like, in the beginning we were talking about that I'm doing a lot and all over the place. But it's very organized and scheduled. Like, so with Fend Studios, it consists of, like, 3 parts.
Yep.
The ways to get this show, recording others, and live streaming sports and following sports around. I was telling you, like, wrestling is a bit of sport I should follow, but it's too much work, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, there's no fear in failing. I just go do it, and it just gets exciting. It's like, oh, you got to go do this. Like, nah, I do go to that rate.
Yep.
Just keep doing it,
That's
just keep
it.
going, and just keep giving my all, giving my best, have fun with it while I do it.
Yep.
And the outcome is the outcome. It is what it is.
It's hard work, but it becomes something else when you're passionate about it, right? And you got to be selective. Like, you can't plan on trying to do everything, right? You know how the saying goes, you'll do everything and nothing at the same time. Mm-hmm. So you got to be moving forward and not in circles. But I could tell you this, and you just said it right there, you got 3. There's some people trying to do 12 things, right? And they wonder why they're not getting that same sense. You got 3 strong avenues, 3 strong eggs that you're warming, that you're taking care of. One of them's going to hatch, right? So you've got to, be intentional about it, and your passion's got to be part of it. If the paycheck is the only thing you're looking at, you're going to be on the left side a whole lot more than someone on the right.
Correct. No, yeah, I just, so I always go watch sports.
Yep.
I always go watch the kids I taught and all that, and I just like watching high school sports. I think I watch more high school. I watch more high school sports than the NFL on Sundays and stuff like that. Because on Sundays I'm busy with family, chilling.
Yep.
I don't sit down and I just can't say watch TV all day. But that's now, because before I would just like binge watch football, like, you know. But you know, as you get older, there's more things, more responsibilities.
Yep.
But I always. With the sports is that, you know what, I go anyways. Let me just bring the camera and stream it.
That's it.
And talk behind the camera, because I'm over there talking, yelling, and all that.
Yeah.
So
No,
talk to the chat.
people love it. People love it.
Yeah, so that's how that comes about and stuff like that, and then the rest is the rest, you know. But before these next questions, I get into it. I feel like we haven't even really got into exactly what you do. We're just talking a lot and getting to know each other.
I mean, I do a lot. So where do you want to start?
Exactly. What is when we go look you up in that link tree?
Yep.
And stuff. What are we looking for? What are we gonna find?
So you go to the link tree, the first thing you're gonna see is an interest form. And it's gonna say interest form 2025. That's where I know, that gives me a gauge of where you're at, okay? During COVID, I started something called the text ministry. It started because a few people who were isolated, couldn't see anyone, couldn't really talk to anyone the way they wanted to. And because I'm their pastor, they nicknamed me Pocket Pastor, right? Because I'm just always available. They reached out to me and said, hey, can you just check up on me? And I said, yeah, I'll do that and I'll pray for you. But because of the jail situation, I'm not always accessible at all times. So there are times where maybe you'll send me a message and it won't be till 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon or PM that I'll get to you. So I said to them, okay, if I can send you a message to start your day, at least you'll know I'm thinking of you when I get up, because I'm up early, I'm doing my morning prayers, I've already trained, I've done the things I need to do, I'll send you a quick message. Well, one person turned into two turned into three, and I said, hey, you know, instead of me sending this individually, would you mind if I put you in a group? Because there's some other people who want the same thing. And they said, yeah, you could do that. I put those people in a group. Well, then somebody from that group reached out to me and said, I want to put somebody in contact with you, but they don't know these other people. I don't really want them in the group too. I said, well, now I'm messaging a group and another person individually. Then it just came 10, 30, 40, 50. Now we're 500 plus people who every morning receive a message of encouragement from me, right? Wow. And they're personalized. They're not something orchestrated, because I send the messages in the moment. So I got messages on my phone that maybe spoke to me 3 months ago. I haven't sent it because I'm not in that moment. It's just something I knew I want to send in the future, right? Yeah. But between evening and morning, the one that speaks out to me the most will be the one I send out, right? And I put a little words in there of how I reflect, right? All about that reflection stuff I told you about. And I do that every day, right? I very rarely miss a day. And if I do miss a day, I go back. Because I've gotten messages from people who'll be like, hey, what's the word of the day? You know, what's going on?
That's funny.
You know, and charging me up. Yeah. So I started with that. And from there, they said, well, you know, we're in COVID. Would you mind going on Zoom and doing a lesson, doing a teaching? So it went from texting to Zooming to now, it's grown so much now, I've got to know exactly what you need. So if you go on there and you click the Google form and you fill that out, it's going to send me an email. I'll know which group to put you in, what type of messages to get you involved in right away, and it'll keep you in the loop of what I've got going on. And after you fill that out, you'll see all the platforms. I know that, like you said, we've got to let the world know what we're doing. And I've done so much private for so long that even this is really new to me. But I know this is what it's going to take for us to reach that person who needs to hear the message. So I'm stepping out too. So share the links, subscribe, follow, engage, and let's get this out to the people who need it and get motivated along the way.
Word. I hear you. You know, at 5 in the morning, around 5:10, 5:15, my close friends will get a message from me. I do radio station voice notes.
Yeah, okay.
I have music on and I just like, it sounds like a radio host. You know what I'm saying? Because like I wake up at 4:30. That's when I'm parking. When I park at the gym before I leave my car, I always do like a good morning. Yo, 978. It's hilarious. They always play and they laugh. And when I don't send it, they be like, "Yo, where's that?"
That's
message?
what I'm saying.
Yeah, so yeah.
I'm telling you, keep it up, keep it going. And I'm gonna add you to the text ministry. So add me to what you're doing.
Nah, yeah,
and,
for sure.
You know what I mean? We'll
and it holds me accountable. There's times I don't want to get up for the gym. I need to send that message.
Yeah.
Let's go. Pre-workout, boom, boom, get ready to go.
Yeah. No, definitely. Nah, that's great, man.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, what are some of your biggest challenges along the way in your career? Whether it's with this, with your actual job, with whatever, you know, some challenges you have faced.
I would definitely say that the major challenge in my life thus far would definitely, I would say, health. I definitely had a health scare, technically / in the scare still, about 8 years ago. About 8 years ago, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease that shifted my my strength, shifted my range, my bandwidth. The things I was able to do got cut down to nothing. The physical aspect of my life, which, you know, nickname Haitian Stallion, right? Between my military training, boxing training, rock climbing, I even skydived. Being in shape was a huge part of, you know, my mindset, right? Being healthy. And joining the military at 16 helped with that because at a young age, I was always training. But when I got this illness that had to do with my inflammation levels, my body started to lose muscle, to lose fat, and before you knew it, I was malnourished and almost died 3 times, right? That challenge was probably the biggest challenge of my life. And before then, there really wasn't anything that I could say would even slow me down, right? I took everything head on, but this impacted every area of my life.
Wow.
And on top of it, I wasn't a single man anymore, right? I had a family. I have a family, and they witnessed that. And my oldest son, you know, from me running on the track with him on my back, right? I would train with him on my back, run around and work out. I had him working out when he was a kid, right? To me in a wheelchair, right? To me in situations that he would have never thought that he'd see me in. And see me coming back now, I mean, it's so inspirational, emotional, motivational because I'm taking everything back, right? He has seen me lose everything and take it back day by day. And in some ways, I'm even stronger than I was before, right?
Yeah, of course.
But I'm still battling to make sure that, you know, I don't have a flare up, but also that I educate people on that too. I haven't spoken on that topic too much yet, but I feel comfortable here enough to say that. But also, this is part of the things I know I got to share this year because there's somebody somewhere who's going to get a diagnosis. There's someone somewhere who's going to get a phone call or a lab result that's going to rock them to the core, and they've got to know that restoration is possible, recovery is possible, but you've got to be willing to fight like never before, and it's going to take everything you've got and then some.
Oh, God bless, God bless. And obviously, the person you are, you were able to overcome that. Like you said, people do need to hear this because not everybody could go out there and fight with everything they got.
Absolutely.
Not everybody knows what it is to give that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Definitely.
so
I would say,
that's amazing.
without my faith, I don't see how. You know, for me, it's just, and even they call me Miracle Man. I mean, every time I got to go and get my labs, which are once a month, I walk in there, the whole place stops, right? The nurses, they're great, the doctors are great, and then it's like, you're a miracle, right? But the people who have appointments who see me walk in, you should see like everyone's just like, who is this guy? And I just tell them, I'm like, your day's coming, right? Just don't stop, don't give up, and do what they tell you to do. Do your own research too, but you got to be disciplined and take care of this body. You only got one. I walk in there and I get my good bill of health and I walk out, but there was a time when I couldn't even walk in myself, right? So I know what I'm saying to those people, and I'm going to encourage them more this year. There's some projects I'm going to do specifically for people who are struggling like that, and we're going to give them some motivation.
Word. That's amazing, man. That's really cool to hear. And yeah, man, our body's only one, man, and I need to definitely do better.
Yep.
I had a back injury. It was a thing like this small, man, and it had me down.
Yeah.
It had me down, like tiny, like a
Yep.
nail, and it had me down for the count.
Yep.
Like I played football, I wrestled, everything, and
I
like
know.
nothing like that little.
I know.
It's crazy.
I know.
So yeah, man, for sure. For motivating others and stuff like that, what motivates you? What keeps you going?
Faith. I know I'm going to keep bringing that to that because that's definitely my power
For
source,
sure.
right? You know, that's huge for me. My relationship with God has been, it's charged me up like nothing else, and it keeps growing, right? I always tell people I didn't roll out of bed a bishop, right? There was a time when I wasn't reading my Bible every day. You know, I definitely wasn't preaching, wasn't teaching, and there was definitely something missing. And even though I was able to do things successfully, I didn't have true peace or joy, right? I try to explain to people like the difference between, you know, your talent and touching people's lives, right? You can entertain people, right? Or you can empower them and encourage them. Sometimes those are two different things, right? And I was entertaining people when I was rapping and I was doing slam poetry and I was acting. It was fun, right? But when I do this, people's lives have changed forever. And that's the difference, right? So motivation for me, it's a lifestyle. Worship, if I was to pull up my playlist right now, the one I was telling you about earlier, it's a worship song, motivational speech, worship song, motivational. Like this is how I break everything down because there's no way that I can truly be who I need to be unless I am in the worship, in the moment, in the motivation, because it's all together, right? So when I play that, I'm feeding my soul and my body at the same time, and I just stay charged up, and I face the day. But I do that every single day. right?
Nice.
And that's why I believe in routines over resolutions, is because I need you to do something that you believe you can commit to past 1 year. And let's just focus on that, right? Let's just focus on that.
No, that's cool. And I'm glad I didn't talk about resolutions and all that. I didn't get to lock in because now I'm thinking about routines, not resolutions.
Definitely.
So that's pretty cool, man. That's
No,
pretty cool
that
to
sermon
think.
hit hard. I mean, people are asking me to preach it again already this year. But today I was reading the scriptures and something else came to my mind. So I'll come back to routines again, but the message I was reading today really had to do about us carrying things over. And this is an Old Testament story. But what I got out of it was really that there are things that we need to let go of to make the most of this year. And if we don't, there's going to be consequences for that. And that summarizes the story without going into it. But that's the message I got for this new year, is that we actually need to do an inventory of what do we really bring into this new year? Is it going to help us achieve those goals, or is it going to hold us back? And sometimes you need someone else to take a look at it. Because in the story, the guy knew what he did was wrong, but he needed to be called up by someone else, right? So that accountability is back in there again. And that's what I'm going to challenge the people with. So that message is coming, right? So I'm going to preach that, and I'm going to let them know, yeah, it's time for us to do a reflection. What are you really bringing in?
Maybe 95% of the time it's gonna be a holdback.
Yep.
When you reflect on that stuff,
Yep.
and like you said, if somebody else don't call it out on you and let you know,
Yeah.
because you know what you have to do.
Exactly.
But if you're not hearing it from others, or just yourself, it probably won't.
Yeah, it
hit
takes
as
it
much.
takes it to another level,
Yeah.
right? And in the story, the person had to say what they did too. So there's different levels of accountability, right? And there's a dialogue that when it happens, you know that you need to do something. Then I acknowledge that you need to do it, but then you say back to me that you know, there's really very little chance that you're gonna go back and do the same thing with that level of accountability, right? Versus just me saying something to you and walking away, right? I don't really know that you got it until you say it back to me. And in that exchange, that's when the change happens.
For sure. I hear that. So this next question is probably the teacher you were talking about. Is like who had most profound impact on your life?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it could be somebody else the teacher. I know that story was
Well,
pretty
yeah.
cool.
I mean, when I look at academically and a pivotal moment, it's a list of people, but he's really the first person who sticks out that in my early years that I can remember, who really just wouldn't push the envelope on me, right? Really wouldn't let me get away with anything. So because of that, he always comes to my mind first. But the most impactful person, I mean, it's a few people.
Yeah, it's kind of a hard.
Yeah, it's hard. But after him, the next person who I'm thinking of is a close friend of mine. His name's Trevor. And the reason why he impacted my life is because he showed me the gospel of love in action before I even knew the gospel of love being preached. When I went to LA, I wasn't the man I am now, right? I just finished an acting movie. I just went SAG. I'm in shape. Probably single at the time, right? I'm young, and I'm just out there, right? With a little bit of cash and a place, and making decisions that anybody in that group would probably do. Faith wasn't at the front of my mind at the time, even though there were things that I knew I'd never do because I never did them anyways. That's something my dad said when I told him I was packing up everything and leaving. My mom was so worried. And my dad said that if he didn't do it here and he does it there, that just shows who he is. But the point of the fact is, if we let him go, he's going to be who he is anyways. It doesn't matter where he is. And I remember my dad saying that, and now it's so true. I just had to be me no matter where I was. I didn't have to go out there and be somebody else. I went out there, and the world wanted another version of me, but I refused to compromise who I was. Like my dad said that I would be, right? And I ended up homeless. I ended up on the street, living out my car and trying to make ends meet, right? A studio engineer, he recorded most of my music out there. He passed by my car one day and he said to me, you're either the cleanest person that I know, because your clothes are always folded in the back of your car. You're doing laundry every day, what's going on? And at that point, I was just tired of telling everybody a lie, right? I was living out the gym at the time. That's where I took a shower. That's where I ironed my clothes. That's where I was trying to meet and greet people. I'd move my car on the streets at different times to get under the light, to do what I needed to do in my car. And that's how I lived my life for some months at a time. And he let me come into the studio after hours, and I would stay there, and we'd record music. And the kindness that he showed me it was different. And I knew I could have called my dad. I knew I could have gone home at any time, but I told him I was going to stay for 12 months. And I felt like I was going to become home a failure. Honestly, I felt like if I came home sooner without accomplishing something, it's like I let everybody down. So I suffered longer than I needed to, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
But I ended up connecting with him, and his friendship was, I mean, it transformed everything. And I remember him saying something to me one day. If I ever mention what he's done to me in terms of receipts, then our friendship's over. He never wanted a penny back. He never wanted anything back for what he did because our friendship was enough, right? And that's something to me, between a teacher and a friend, is part of who I am now, right? How do you treat people, right, when they've got nothing to offer you? That says a lot about a man, right? How do you treat someone when they're at their lowest point? You kicking them or you helping them up, right? Mm-hmm. And expecting nothing in return. It says a lot about who you are. And for me, that made a difference. To this day, we're still friends. And we talk about everything. And seeing who I became now, obviously married with children in the past, he's just like, yeah, there was something different about you when I met you. But you were honest, right? And we became friends. But Trevor is somebody, I take him with me everywhere I go. He's in upstate New York now. And, you know, I get emotional sometimes when I think about the story because I went there and I lost everything, but I gained so much more, right? And that's also where I got my call to ministry. I came back home on that plane, and I made a promise that I never looked back since. And then I ended up going to seminary, becoming a pastor, meeting my wife, right? All of that stuff happened after. But I knew on that plane ride coming back home that I couldn't be who I was anymore. And since then, I haven't broken that promise.
Well, that's what's up. Shout out to Trevor, man.
Yeah, Trevosaurus Rex, man, because he's a problem, man. I'll tell you that. Yeah, yeah, I had to play some of the stuff for you when we're done here. You'll see. Yeah, he's a problem. He's good, man, and he's a real deal. He's good with everything, man, and he just cleans up the tracks, and he could rap too, but it's his personality, man. Right? He's a real deal.
No, yeah, you can't. Character, you can't buy that.
No,
you know
oh my good, nah,
man.
man.
You can get the best equipment, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you just real with it and genuine, it goes from there.
Yeah.
When you mentioned being homeless, this was in LA.
Yeah, in LA.
Why do you think that happens out there so much? I feel like that, like, it happens more than. It happens in a lot of places, but in LA is a major place that a lot of people go homeless.
I would say you go out there with a plan, but honestly, it's. If you're from the East Coast heading there, it's an even bigger beast than you could think.
Yeah.
It's nonstop, right? It's 24 hours a day. It's dog eat dog out there. Nothing is really what it seems, even with people, right? You want to talk about that character and genuine piece. You can meet someone today, they could be a different person the same day. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, and it's so alive. But everyone out there is chasing something. Right? And
yeah, I went once to Hollywood.
Yeah, it's a different feel, and because you are from here, you feel it right away. You want to be you, but they don't want you as you are. They want you to be like them, and you got to make a decision there. And a lot of people, it breaks them, right? A lot of people go out there and they get broken. You know, for me, I didn't compromise, but at the same time, I ended up on the streets because of the choices I made leading up to going out there, who I decided to stay with, right? Who I decided to invite into our circle, all these things. It resulted in me being on the street. And at that point, even the job scene is crazy out there, right? One job I got, it was shady, right, to say the least. Left that. Another job I had, the disrespect level was through the roofs, right? So, you know, you're trying to maintain a level of pride. You know you need the job, but the person's making you beg for the job, all this type of stuff. So I'm selling CDs on the street, right? 3 for $5, 8 for 10, like, you know what I mean? Just really trying to make it work. And it's hard for the people to manage their finances out there while still chasing the goal. Because a lot of times you're going for a gig, that doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna get paid, right? So you can go to 3 auditions in a day, come home with nothing. How's that gonna pay the bills, right? And now you're hoping for a call back. And that gap gets larger, right? Between you missing the first month and the second month. And eventually, you're on the street, you're at Santa Monica Beach, or you're either on the pier or you're in your car. And for some people, it's cheaper for them to live out of their cars, right? For me, I didn't want that. But that's how the pieces fell when I was there. And yeah, it got crazy out there.
I see. It makes a lot of sense. And also, like you said, with going out there with a plan, I think a lot of people go out there chasing a dream.
Oh, my goodness, man.
Instead of
you got to be
signing up for.
So calculated to go out there. And you need, like, this is another thing too. I had no family out there. Like, you need a network and support system. And that Hollywood mentality, they're just going to show up. It has happened for some people, but it's getting so much harder for that type of story to happen. But everyone still thinks it's going to be them. And by no means, that doesn't mean don't give up. But you got to be prepared. You need a plan A through Z to go out there and be ready for it's a dogfight.
No, now for sure. Shout out to my boy Manny. A little off topic. He went out there, but he went out there for HVAC, AC, and plumbing.
Yeah.
He's doing great. Shout out to Manny. That was a good reason to go out there. He ain't go over there, to check.
Yeah, Florida too. If you're doing that in Florida, you're doing that right.
So that was a great move. Yeah, so
that's good.
You could always figure things out.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. We're getting close to an end. If you want to let us know how we get in contact with you.
Well, definitely. If you could keep that link active for the people, let them know. I'm going after everything, right? I believe that the people who are meant to be in my life, they're going to be in my life. And I'm going to give them the attention I can, the energy that I can, because I believe that's what was done for me. Mentorship is critical. I'm not who I am today without people coming to my life and just saying point blank, if you don't do this, this is how it's going to be. And these people will live in partial lives that I wanted. I say partial because that's their life. And I don't know their life fully. But there are definitely some aspects of their life I could say, yeah, I want that, right? That mentality I told you I have. You never want to be the other person, but you can take from other people the best that they have and make it your own. And that's what I've done. There are people who looked into my life and said, hey, if I was you, this is what I would have done 30 years younger. That's someone who you want to listen to who's successful, right? But at the same time, there's some people who said, if I was you, I would do this. If I was 30 years younger, and they were unsuccessful. But because of how they're coming at you and they're trying to tell you, I felt the fire and it's hot, you don't need to do that. So it's not just about successful people, right? It's about people in your life who you trust enough to give you the right advice. And maybe they didn't get the opportunity you had and they would have became that person. You can't knock them for where they're at, but you got to have enough people in your circle who are actually moving it so you can go from crawling to walking to running. But if you're only hanging around people who are crawling, very rarely is someone going to get up and walk, right?
That's facts.
So we need that mentorship piece, and that's what I offer to people. And however we can make it work, I will. It's a platform now, so it's getting more official, right? There were a lot of things I used to do just to do. Now there's a system in place, and whatever I could do to make a difference, I'm going to do that.
All right, sounds good, man. Anything I forgot that you want to mention, or?
No, we got the event on the 21st, first Impact Speech of the Year. We got the Gideon Project coming up. We got the link tree, the interest form. Sign up, join the text ministry. We'll exchange so I can be on yours. And now we spoke about so much, and I do believe that I'm going to be back, right?
Yeah.
Because we got unfinished business and so much to talk about. But my life has been full, right? And I think as long as I keep it an open book, we're going to reach the people. And that's what we do.
Word. And one more thing before we go. You mentioned skydiving.
Oh, yeah. I did that once.
It's actually something I really want to do, but I'm too heavy, man. So I got to work on shedding some pounds to get in there. But something I always really wanted to do. Talk to me about that.
You love it. It was kind of crazy. One of my close friends from the church, one of the first people I met, actually, gave me a big hug when he saw me and really embraced me. And I've been at the church since, actually. 2005, December 2005 is when I went to Waltham. And we were talking about it. And I don't know if you remember this app called Groupon.
Yeah.
Right?
Groupon, of course.
I feel like lately it's kind of died down a little bit.
I didn't even know it was around back in 2005.
Yeah, it was popping, right? No, that's when I joined the church. But that's when I joined the church.
Okay.
But we had that app during that time when I skydived.
Okay.
And a flash came up for a flash sale, sign up right now type thing. So I hit him up and I was just like, man, we doing this? So we met up, got in the car, we went there, we signed the paper, we watched the video, and there's this point where they're like, do you want to call anybody? Is there anything you want to say? I'm like, we call anybody right now, I'm going to get in trouble for this because I'm the one who told you to come out here. And we signed. We went up there, and we still have pictures to this day. And being on the edge of that opening and just looking out into the clouds, man, and just going. I mean, it's like nothing else. And you're up there more than you think. It's not like you just fall. I was up there for like 8 minutes, 12 minutes, just like cruising down and just taking everything in.
That's a long time.
I'm telling you, you're in there, and it's a slow ride down. But the fall, man, just take a deep breath. But as I'm telling you this, I just remember the feeling. It's like a roller coaster ride drop over and over again, all in 1 minute. You take a deep breath and you go. But it was a moment of the thing. I want to do it again. I know some people still want to do it. The year's still young, right? And you're getting up and you're making it happen. But you'll have a good time when you do it. But I would definitely suggest it's something on the list that, honestly, it's an experience that's worth it. You only got to do it once, and then you could just settle with roller coaster rides.
Yeah.
But put this on your list and make it happen.
For sure,
man.
for
All
sure.
right?
Thank you.
But yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
let me know when you do it.
All right, I definitely will. All right, my peoples, you already know your boy Nice. Ways to get the check. This is another one, the first one of 2025, and many more to come. I got
Many
my
more.
guy definitely coming back.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to talk about, but it was great to
Yeah,
meet
and
you.
anything you guys want to suggest, come over here
Yeah,
to the
for sure.
producer, Padre the man, and he'll make it happen.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right, thank you, brother. Appreciate it.